Sit. Right guys, so we're looking to progress our handling training today. So in the last episode you will have seen me doing backs with lefts and backs with rights and teaching what I call the difficult back retrieve, which is where you turn the dog back with the same hand of a retrieve that's out to the left or the right. So now we're going up to 3 retrieves and I'm increasing the distance out that I stood from her. I've been working hard on increasing the gaps between her and the dummies and also myself on her. We're only just getting this right, so I suspect we'll get a few little mistakes here or there, but that's good for you also to see and how I go about dealing with that. I'm using some of my 150-gram rabbit dummies here, and I put a white sweatband around them so that they stand out. It's really important that when she turns that she sees them straight away, and so I keep the soft texture of the rabbit skin, which she likes. It doesn't really add any weight, maybe a little bit of size, but it just makes sure that she can pick those retrieves out, because that's super important to getting for her to get this right. So sit. So I've come out into a bigger field now, which obviously makes this a little bit more challenging. I'm just going to bring her a little bit closer to me. Okay, so I'm going to put a retrieve behind her. And we're always looking for 90 and 180 angles. That's really, really important. So I'm going to put one out to the left, and then I'm going to put one out to the right. Now, whichever way I turn her now for the back retrieve is difficult, because whichever way she turns, she can see the left and the right. Now, when I first start doing this at the beginning of the session, I want to stand a bit closer to her to help her get this right. So I might do a little bit less talking now and focus on everything that I'm doing. Okay, here we go. Split. See, from where I'm stood there, that dummy was endwise onto me. So when she turned, she didn't see that dummy straight away. Now, I actually sometimes prefer to use the big white plastic water dummies because they stand out a lot better, but she's still not quite picking those right. So we're going to do a left now. I'm always coming back to the center spot, which I'm sending her from. Good girl. Here, honey, come on, come on. Classic cocker, didn't quite want to give that to me. Sit. Put that one out to the left again. Now, because I've just put that one out, I'm going to pick the back with my left hand. Good, a little hump whistle at the end there also. Drop down. Go on, honey. Shouldn't quite know what she wants to do. Sit. Going to put that back out again. High stop and right this time. See how she's anticipating that, which is why I do this. Most dogs, when you first start doing this, will start to move on the stop whistle, but the stop whistle means sit and pay attention. It's also a crossover to when we bleed 2 parts of training together later on, which is why I always start with the stop whistle, because you've got to imagine you've just stopped your dog at distance and you're now going into a handling maneuver. If I drop my hand, that shouldn't mean she goes. And that's why I do quite a bit of movement, sit. That's why I do quite a bit of movement with my hands. Back with my right this time. Right. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Here. Honey. You're a little monkey, aren't you? She's like, look, I've got it, but I'm not going to give it to you. Sit. Good. Put that one back out again. Always looking for the 90-degree angle. Good girl. Sit. So the harder one is always the one that comes after the retrieve that's gone out to the right or left, which is why I'm going for the harder one at the moment, that is. So, now I actually normally do these a bit further out, but come on. But to get it all on camera is really hard, because this sit. This uses a lot of space on me. I would normally have these probably another 3 or 4 meters out and on the back retrieve. But again, as I said, if I do that, it makes the picture so grainy, unfortunately. Now I'm increasing the distance out I'm stood from her now. Good girl. Good girl. Here. Now stand up this time. Sit. Good girl. Here. Sit. Right. Very clear verbal when I send her back. And you'll notice my hand doesn't drop. Sit. But that dummy has just landed awkwardly, so I don't want to push her back. I'm going to pick one of the other ones and then move her across slightly. I put my right hand up there so she doesn't automatically assume or gets used to sit. Any hand could go up and any hand could push her left, right or back. Okay, again, going for the difficult one here, which is going to be the back with my left hand because she's just seen that one go out. Right, right, right. She wasn't sure there. Good girl, here, good girl, sit, good girl. So, once I've done 6, 8, 10, 12 retrieves like this, I would then turn it on its axis. So I'm going to probably have to move the camera. So now what was the back is going to become the right hand retrieve. The left is going to become the back retrieve. And I'm going to put a retrieve out this way. So, right, so the left is now the back. I'm going to put one out to the left. And I'm going to put one out to the right. Again, these are a little bit shorter than I normally do, but I'm trying to keep it on camera for you guys. So I'm going to do a back with my right. Right. She looked at that one there, and that will often happen when you change the axis. When you suddenly change it, it throws them, which is why you should keep changing it. Otherwise, they can start to associate back with a spot rather than a direction. That's really important. So that's gone out. Going to pick the left one now. Good girl. Once you've done 2 or 3 in the same spot, they tend to get it. Good girl, here. Sit. By the way, I will neaten up the deliveries later. At this point, I don't worry too much as long as she keeps hold of it. Right. My right hand to send her back this time. Good girl. Good girl, here. Sit. Put this one back out again. And then I repeat. So I would then do maybe 10 or 12 retrieves. Sit. I'm a bit closer to talk to you guys. Here. Sit. Then I'll do 10 or 12 retrieves in that order. And then I might turn it again, or I might do 6 to 8 in one position, twist 6 to 8, twist 6 to 8, and just doing that. But the first ones I always stand a little bit closer, and then I work my way further away from the dog. And over time, I'm also increasing the distance out that the retrieves are from her and the distance I am from her. And that will just slowly increase out, increase out, increase out. But what's really important at this stage is that when she turns, she must be able to see those dummies. That's really important. People are trying to make the retrieves more difficult than they need to be. This is already quite a difficult drill if you do really well. And the one thing that I want the dog to learn to do is to turn and run. A novice dog will turn and run at the same time. Once the dog gets good, it will turn and then run dead straight. And for that to happen, the dog must be able to see those retrieves every single time, certainly for a long, long time at the beginning. I don't start to make those retrieves difficult to find until that dog's got really, really good at this. Isn't that right, honey? Right, good job. Let's go on to the next bit, Heel. Right, everyone, so we're back to do basic memories, which leads into blind retrieves later on. And what we've got is we've got a corner of a field here. And the reason why we want a corner is because we don't want to get caught up with the dog overshooting a mark and ending up all over the place. So by using a corner, you're naturally corralling the dog into one spot. And that's what we're looking to do. And I'll generally use the same spot over and over again for quite some time to build up that dog's confidence in that it always runs out to the same area and then finds a retrieve every single time. Now, when we start off doing this, you want want to do this nice and short distance, whatever you feel the distance your dog can do comfortably without any hesitation or giving up getting out to the dummy. And that's really, really important at the beginning. So there's lots and lots of versions of this drill that I work through, and they become progressively more difficult. Now today, the wind is coming behind me, which is a bit abnormal. So when the wind's behind you, you can still do this, but whatever you do, don't let the dummy fall tight up against a hedge or a fence, because there's a good chance the dog will struggle to then pick it. So you need to make sure that dummy's landing way behind, in front of the hedge or fence that you're working up to. Otherwise, if the dog can't see it, they'll be the wrong side of the wind to pick it. So, go on, wiggle bum. So we're going to start off with a nice simple retrieve. Now you'll see here I've got a training lead on. These are available in our puppy lead pack. We do 2 different lengths of them that come with the heel lead also. And this just allows me to really control the dog in amongst everything that I'm doing. She doesn't need this on. I can make her do all this without, but for argument's sake, I'm just showing you what I would normally do. So I've got one of my high-vis dummies. Again, this is not about hunting an area at this stage. This is just about the dog seeing a retrieve and picking it hopefully in one clean motion. So I'm going to put the retrieve out nice and simple. I'm not throwing it too far. In my case, she's going to look at me, and then I can send her. Now, she can do a lot further than this, but for the sake of showing you today, this is what we're going to do. So I do one, for example, like this, and then I might move to a different spot. So I might move to a different spot. Good girl, good girl. Sit. But again, throwing the retrieve into the same spot. That's important. So I'm putting the retrieve out, eye contact, that through her then, because I didn't do my normal command. This is what happens when I'm filming. I don't do things the way I normally do them, and then it throws the dog. Okay, so we're going to do it slightly different. I'm not going to talk this time. So I'm going to put the retrieve out. I'm going to move her. Good girl. So we're going to come round. Same angle, but set into the same corner. Sit. Back. Even though she can see it, I'm giving her a little bit of hump whistle. Talked about this a lot in the past. Come on in. Left hand lead, right hand retrieve, dog is back to heel. It means I've got no faffing going on around me after I've taken the retrieve. You see that a lot with dogs. They come in, they do a couple of laps of you. You finally get the retrieve, and then they do a couple more laps of you before you get them to stop. So I have a saying which is left hand lead, right hand retrieve, and that gets rid of a lot of that messing around. Right, I was going to say something else, but I've forgotten what it was. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm starting to interject a hump whistle every time she's about to pick something. So over time, she's going to start to associate hearing that sound with picking something. So later, when she can't necessarily find it straight away, that's going to give her the confidence to keep hunting that area out. So we're going to walk towards the spot. We're going to make her sit. We're going to put the retrieve out. I often do a clap as well now. And I'm going to turn her and walk her away. Now you can progressively make this harder by going in lots of different places, but we're always working into the same corner. So we're going to come out here, round we come, split. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Left hand lead, right hand retrieve, stand up, little tug, dog's back to heel, and we're back to our starting point without any messing around. So I'm going to push the distance out a little bit more. So I'm going to put the retrieve out. That was a bit short. Okay, going to walk out a bit further. Good girl, come on. Good girl. It's a bit strange doing this, isn't it? Good girl. Round we come. She's used to a clap now when I do that, because I've been doing that for some time. Go for a knee to sit this time. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl, dead. See, I can actually make her sit up and present. It's just a lot of the time when I'm doing these quite pressured drills, I like to keep the last part quite fun, but she can sit up and hold the retrieve quite nicely. So I'm going to put this back out again. Nice throw. I'm going to pick up my lead. I'm going to walk over here a little bit. I'm going to go a bit further this time. Heel, heel, heel. Right. Good girl, well done. So I'm coming back towards her because left hand lead, right hand retrieve, back to heel, lovely. coming back towards her, because if you've got a limit to the distance that you can throw, then you're better off coming back a bit closer, throwing it. I often turn away, heel. We're going to go over there this time. And you can just keep working your way further and further back. And I will do some other versions of this later on, not in this episode. So we're going to go. Good girl, well done. Good girl, well done. Good girl. Yeah. Come on in. Good girl. Left hand lead, right hand retrieve. Now you notice I don't blow my stop whistle at the end. And that's because I teach this advanced skill that you've seen in previous episodes of me teaching the dog to spit out on the stop whistle. That's why you'll never see me using my whistle at the end. Once the dog's most of the way and I've done my recall, I spit the whistle out and I just use a verbal, and then that negates the dog accidentally letting go of the retrieve, which is obviously a separate drill. Anyway, I hope those bits make sense. There are a lot more complicated versions of this, but this is the first stage. Just getting that dog running to the same spot, but from different angles. And the retrieve mustn't be too hard for the dog to find at this stage. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Come on. Well guys, hope you really enjoyed that latest episode of Honey's vlog. It's a lot of repeating, and over the months to come there's going to be very small amounts of progression on each of the drills, which I'll slowly bring together. It's not always the most exciting thing to watch, but gun dog training, or dog training as a general, is about being able to be comfortable with repeating yourself. It's very repetitive, and you need to make sure that you don't make too big a jumps in what you're doing, otherwise you tend to encounter problems. Anyway, as I said, I hope this has been a good episode for you to watch. I'll do another one in about a fortnight's time. In between that, I'm going to do some other videos covering a few other topics. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Any questions, stick them in the description below. Otherwise, happy training, guys.